to the normal, just the average day person reading that, they're like, okay, as soon as I read that, I those things blew up right at me as soon as I read it. And I was like, okay, like this is what I'm trying to tell everybody.
There's some more information that is starting to resurface from the entire cases that were leaked, and some things that have been forgotten when it comes to Diddy's house being raided and the possible federal case that might be brought against him pretty soon, which I want to see. I actually put a poll over on the Classy Beats YouTube channel and the community side. If y'all haven't seen it yet, make sure you go over to my YouTube channel and vote on this poll. So the question I asked, and let me pull it over here so y'all can see it, as I said, could Cassie face charges if a federal case is brought against Diddy? Now, 385 people answered this poll, and it looks like the majority of them are saying yes. They're saying yes, she knew what was going on. Now, out of 385, it's a 58-42 split. So 42% say no, she's innocent. Now, I want y'all to let me know what you think in the comments and in the chat. Is Cassie innocent, especially once federal charges are brought up? Because with the federal charges, there's so much that could be in there. And if she was in any way a witness to or involved in some of these situations, I mean, she could possibly be mentioned in some of these charges. But at the same time, to me, if you're in the FBI or if you're in the CIA, whoever is investigating this case, I would want to have Cassie on my side. So I don't know, unless they just have an abundance of information and they don't need Cassie's help to talk about specific dates, to talk about how things were run on the inside when it comes to drugs, when it comes to possible trafficking, when it comes to possible situations with minors, then I could see them wanting to have her on their side. But it's interesting to look at and hear, and we're going to go into it a little bit more today. All right. So Cassie is possibly facing some federal charges with this new Diddy lawsuit, or with this new Diddy case, especially in light of his house being raided. We're going to read this article by News Nation, which talks about some of the things that we're actually seeing and some of the things that may be introduced since Diddy's house was raided. All right. So shout out to News Nation for this article. They say what we know after Diddy's houses, plural, were raided. 1. The federal authorities raided Diddy's home in March. Diddy has not been arrested or charged, which we know these things take time. So unless there was something glaring or they're still building their case, they're not going to arrest him right away. Legal experts say charges against Diddy are building. Oh, yeah. And I've heard this from multiple sources. We're going to listen to a video from one here shortly. Nearly 2 months after two homes belonging to hip hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs were raided by federal investigators, law enforcement has released few details as to potential charges the music producer could be facing. Department of Homeland Security agents conducted the raids on March 25th at Combs' multi-million-dollar mansion in LA and his Miami waterfront home. The raids came as the producer faces a mounting list of civil lawsuits, still going strong too, that allege abuse and assault by multiple victims spanning over 30 years. Combs has denied all the allegations. Why was Diddy's house raided? While federal authorities have given sparse public statement as to what prompted the raids, News Nation affiliate WPIX reported they were part of ongoing trafficking investigations. Shh, that is not good. Not good at all. Authorities also reportedly widening their probe to include potential witness intimidation, assault, and firearm violations, according to a New York Post report. Dang. In an interview on News Nation Prime in March, Dana Kennedy of the New York Post said their Homeland Security sources indicated the investigation into Combs is the tip of the iceberg and that nothing is off the table. So to me, this would include all types of charges, as we mentioned before, and also other celebrities and people who may have been involved in this, which is wild to think of. What happened during the raids on Diddy's home? Investigators seized firearms and phones belonging to Combs, though it was unclear how many devices were confiscated, along with a heavy presence of police officers wearing protective gear and weapons. We watched that video of them raiding his home, saw some of the people who were arrested outside as well. Command trucks were parked outside of both properties. Combs' sons, Justin and Christian King Combs, were handcuffed during the raid at their father's Los Angeles home. Justin's mother said she had retained high-profile attorney Jeffrey Lichman, hopefully I'm saying that right, to look into the excessive use of force. Oh man, used on Justin and Christian during the raid, which she called unnecessarily and certainly not required by this search warrant. I think that would be hard to prove, especially if with some of the implications and with the evidence that they have so far. The force used against my sons, Justin and Christian, is deplorable. Okay. She goes on to complain about it. I don't see anything coming out of that. All right. And then what accusations is Diddy facing? Now, this is important. And could they be part of the raids? The music producer has been slapped with 5 civil suits. And this is an older one because now it's up to 8, I believe. The music producer has been slapped with civil suits in the last 5 months, each containing a multitude of disturbing allegations. Singer Cassie Ventura, who had been in a decade-long relationship with Combs in the early 2000s, filed a lawsuit, as we know. She settled the lawsuit, and then the video footage was released by CNN. All right, 2 days later, we know he said the apology. And then shortly after that, we have the other lawsuits that were filed by April Lampros and a couple other lawsuits in there as well. Let's see. TMZ reported Ventura worked with the federal and guest investigators for 4 weeks. Now, this is important here, and we're going to get into why it's important here in a second. She worked with federal investigators for 2 weeks, potentially even before the raids. Oh, man. The outlet reported that she may have helped investigators establish probable cause to obtain search warrants. So it sounded like they are already involving Cassie in the investigation. What she got out of that, I don't know if we'll ever know, but it'll be interesting to see if something comes out from that. In February, music producer Rodney Jones, that's Lil Rod, filed a lawsuit as well. In the lawsuit, a woman said in other lawsuits, a woman said the rap producer trafficked and assaulted her 2 decades ago when she was 17. And then there's the other lawsuits mentioned there. Oh, man. So this is getting into some of the things that Diddy is facing. Could Diddy be arrested? Diddy was not arrested for any criminal conduct, but charges could be forthcoming, legal experts say. They clearly have probable cause to believe that a federal crime has been committed and that evidence of that crime or multiple crimes would be found in the 2 locations that they searched. This is big news, and if I'm P. Diddy or his lawyers, I'd be very concerned at this point, says Nadia Shinhata, who prosecuted R. Kelly. Oh, I did not know that. All right. So when it comes to people who were involved and who were in and around Diddy at this point, it's interesting to see that all of this is going on, because I'm sure a lot of people who were at those parties are getting a little bit nervous, because if you think of all the people he was connected with, all the celebrities that had been in and out of his houses, if some of this stuff goes down and then there's pictures and videos of them being at the house, this is not going to look good on them or their reputation as well. So this could also lead into some of the accusations that were being brought up against Cassie and some of the things that people are saying she may have been involved in, and some of the ways she might actually be charged herself. Now, we watched this video the other day. I think it was last week. And when I first heard this, I thought it was crazy, but something kind of stuck with me from this. And it's just the way the wording was phrased. I want y'all to listen to it. You let me know what you think. and we'll move into the next part of this segment.
Ain't nobody got the courage to stick up for Puff. I do. What do you mean?
That was the crazy part. What? Nobody's sticking up for Puff right now. And I'll play the video all the way through. But it's interesting that no one has come out and spoken in his defense. I mean, he had so many people who were close to them, and everybody's quiet. I think Cassie and everyone who's filed lawsuits are the only ones who have spoken out so far, which to me is a little bit strange.
Ain't nobody got the courage to stick up for Puff. I do.
What do you mean?
Go ahead.
Hey, man,
Cassie, you wasn't here, so I want him to hear this.
Cassie ain't the bitch y'all think she is. I always say this,
Dang.
man. Domestic violence is not always abuse because some bitches like to fight. Cassie is the same woman that would go to Puff Daddy's house while Kim Porter was alive and watch Puffy beat on Kim, cuss Kim out, abuse Kim, and laugh at Kim.
Now, when I first heard this, I thought it was crazy. But yesterday, we actually went through and reviewed the April Lampros lawsuit, where she actually claims that Kim Porter was involved in some of the abuse. So look at this. This is, let me find it. This is talking about April Lampros's third encounter with Diddy. And look what happens here. One night in 1996, Diddy ordered April to his Manhattan apartment. Diddy's residence was at this location. When April arrived, Kim Porter and 2 other people were present. This is in 1996. Diddy introduced the women. They went to a nightclub. After the club closed, they returned to Mr. Combs' apartment and they began a night of drinking. A couple hours into the evening, Diddy forced Kim and April to take ecstasy. And then y'all know what happens after that. Kim and April did some stuff together. Now, later on down the road, there was actually a point where Kim was showing some type of disdain or animosity towards April. And she goes on, and April goes on to explain in this complaint where some of the tension came from and what happened between them. It says, however, the ending was one-sided. Diddy and Kim Porter weren't done with April Lampros, which was a crazy statement, which makes me think that Kim and April still had some type of involvement together. Kim was very resentful of April after she was forced to engage in acts with April. She dined at April's place of employment, a bar named Silver, which was in Soho. According to April, Kim was enraged when she saw her. Now, going back to some of the things that are being said in this case, it's honestly looking like Diddy had some type of pattern that he was going through, to where there was one main chick in his life and she helped with other situations, possibly some drugs. We even heard in Cassie's lawsuit case that he had her make phone calls and bring certain people over. So it's going to be interesting to see if Cassie was involved in some type of use or in drugs in her case. Is she going to be held liable for that?
Who's Kim and laugh at Kim? Kim's friends have came out and it's documented that they say Cassie used to be torturing Kim with Puff.
Uh-oh.
She is not this victim broad that everybody is making her out to be. This is a treacherous bitch. Anytime a woman that is that beautiful is dating a nigga that is that regular looking, she's hustling her pussy. This is a woman that hustles vagina, and we treating her like she a Claire Huxtable or a respectable everyday woman. This bitch is a libido whore. She's libido hungry, and she's money hungry, and she's eating, sucking, and fucking on anybody that got the paper. That $30 million settlement she got, a portion of that should go to Kim's kids.
Jesus, man. Hey, yo. So that's an interesting statement. Obviously, as I said yesterday, I think this statement is crazy, but could there possibly be some truth there? Well, we're going to look into what some of the lawyers who are involved in this case and cases similar to this are thinking and what they see possibly happening down the road. And it could be that Cassie did have something going on behind the scenes. She was maybe involved in some of the drugs and possible abuse, as was mentioned in the last video. Let's see what this lawyer is saying. Now, this is Bradford Cohen. DJ Academics brought him onto his channel to kind of talk about how the legal things work, similar to what we're doing here, and what possibly could be the moves that the FBI and Homeland Security are making behind the scenes to set up this federal Diddy case.
No.
Sure.
So, like, if I'm the client, I'm Diddy, right? Granted,
Yeah.
it's rumored that I'm a billionaire, all this type of stuff. I don't know how the negotiation process goes, but it's like, yo, this chick wants $50 million. Like,
Yeah.
Even if you're my lawyer, how do you even like wrap my mind around it to say, Sean or Brother Love, whatever you want to call him, you're better off settling than going to, because I might be so arrogant and pompous. I'm like, before I pay her $50 million, I'll fight her to death. You know?
Yeah, and listen, there's some instances where that is a smart move, and I've said this before. I didn't make my reputation on settling cases. I made my reputation on hurting people in the courtroom and making sure that this individual gets hurt enough where the next person who's thinking about doing that says, hey, let's not do that, because that's not a good idea. So there are times, it's just like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You have to have a conversation with the client, and you have to tell that client, hey, listen, this is the complaint that's going to be filed. Like, I don't know, let's go through your, the people that could support you. Let's go through your, your sponsorships that you may lose. Let's go through the businesses that have these, in the contract, they have some sort of morality clause, or, like all these things that where morals would come into play and you'd lose money on. Add that up. Does that equal, $30 million or $35 million? Now let's tack on another $5 million in attorney's fees, because that case doesn't go away.
Yeah, and that's why I was so surprised that Diddy just didn't settle this and get it over with. Obviously had some ego going on there. I would be shocked if his lawyers behind the scenes weren't saying, hey, just give them a deal that they want, settle it quietly, and let's just get it over with, because then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Everyone would just assume that Cassie was his victim. The video most likely wouldn't have come out, and we would have been moving on with our lives. Diddy would have been fine. Now this is a whole nother thing.
Tomorrow, you need a team of attorneys on a case like that to handle it properly. You need expert witnesses. You start going through litigation fees. Just that alone, you're looking at $5 million, $4 million, and then you start adding up what you're going to lose in sponsorships, what you're going to lose in business deals, and the possible ding on your reputation. Not to mention, once she files that complaint, it's open season. It's literally, Elmer Fudd's come out of everywhere and they start hunting you down. And that's what happened. So instead of settling this very quietly, making it go away, no one would have said anything. An NDA would have been filed, and that would have been that $35 million.
Exactly. Does this video come out though? Let's say it was leaked by Cassie. We're gonna get into that, because the video of him putting hands on Cassie, which by the way, I think you're one of the only people I've watched be able to separate emotion from actual legal analysis, because everyone's so caught up that video is so emotionally charged. Imagine you pay that money. Okay, let's go. This is dream world, of course. Okay, he pays the settlement. Does that video come out?
My opinion is it doesn't. I think that came out.
That's crazy, man. Just goes to show you how wild this legal system is. They're saying that, and just how crazy this case was with Cassie, which is why I didn't like in the first place everyone making this narrative of, oh, it's so terrible, because they were willing to settle this and have everything go away, and we wouldn't even have the conversation. So it's not about victims of domestic violence. It's about me getting the amount I want. If not, I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum. We're gonna play this smear game, which is what Bradford Cohen is alluding to, which is crazy that the law works this way. But what are you gonna do?
Imagine you pay that money. Okay, let's go. This is dream world, of course. Okay, he pays the settlement. Does that video come out?
My opinion is it doesn't. I think that came out for a very specific reason.
Crazy.
And I talk about it on my Instagram. I think that the video came out because I think an indictment's going to come out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that indictment is going to name I think so. I think by
Here
the
we
end of
go.
June, I think you see an indictment come out. That's my guess. Yeah.
Do you think they're in the process of grand jurying everything now, or do you think, because I read your comments, or do you think they're still at the point of maybe arm twisting with Cassie to say, give us everything you know, and we'll give you this immunity deal? Because you.
Yeah, listen. The Southern District of New York is not a district that sits on their hands. My opinion is that, like I said, I think that they will move fairly quickly. I think the reason why he's not leaving the state of Florida is because they probably told him, don't leave the state of Florida. And if you do, we're going to arrest you on a complaint.
Dang, that's tough.
I think all those things are happening. And like I said, I'm relying on my experience, my 27 years of experience. I'm not just guessing like, oh my God, I just got out of law school and I've never had a case like this before. I've had cases like this before where there are warrants issued, where there are items taken. They already have enough probable cause to get a warrant. They have enough probable cause to get a warrant. There's a saying that you can indict a ham sandwich. If they have enough probable cause to get a warrant to search homes in 2 different states, my guess is that they will have enough to indict. And my guess is that the reason this video came out is because I think in the indictment, Cassie's name, well, it probably won't be her name. It'll probably be unindicted co-conspirator 1. I think that they will be talking a lot about what happened between him and her and what they did together. And I think that's why this video.
Oh, man. So 2 things here. First thing is Cassie was already working with them for several weeks and possibly before the raid took place, right? We mentioned that earlier. But the other thing is, if you look at Cassie's lawsuit, you will see that not only did Diddy have this entire recording equipment set up throughout his entire house, but he would actually use Cassie's phone and Cassie's video camera, whatever she had available to her, to record some of the things that they were doing, some of the things that were going on around the house. So it makes you wonder, what did Cassie have in her possession that she could have possibly given to the FBI, Homeland Security, whoever's doing the investigation? And secondly, he's saying that it's looking like something's going to come out here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and Cassie could possibly and most likely will be named because of what she may have been involved in, willingly or unwillingly, when it comes to Diddy and certain things that happen to other people. I got to run this back, though. That's a crazy statement. I don't think anybody saw this happening.
Where there are warrants issued, where there are items taken, they already have enough probable cause to get a warrant. They have enough probable cause to get a warrant. There's a saying that you can indict a ham sandwich. If they have enough probable cause to get a warrant to search homes in 2 different states, my guess is that they will have enough to indict. And my guess is that the reason this video came out is because I think in the indictment, Cassie's name, well, it probably won't be her name. It'll probably be unindicted co-conspirator 1. I think that they will be talking a lot about what happened between him and her and what they did together. And I think that's why this video came out, because the only way to quote unquote save face in this, and it may be true, by the way, it may just not be saving face, it may actually be true, is to say I was a sex slave, I was powerless, I wasn't the person I am now, this was a different person, I don't even recognize the person I was back then.
Yeah, and powerless is the thing I mentioned a couple times that we see is a common theme throughout this entire Diddy situation. It was mentioned in Cassie's statement where she said she felt powerless. April Lampros, in her lawsuit filing, it said she felt powerless. And then we've even seen in Cassie's lawsuit to where it said she felt powerless, and several lawsuits that have come out of this. So it seems like that's the move they're trying to make to paint this picture that they didn't really have a choice in the matter. So anything that went on, anything that they did, it was all forced by Diddy.
True is to say I was a sex slave, I was powerless, I wasn't the person I am now, this was a different person, I don't even recognize the person I was back then.
Wow.
All of the things she's saying, in my opinion, feels like that's where this is going. And like I said, I could be wrong. 99% I'm not. I just think that that's what's going to happen.
I agreed with you. By the way, number one,
that's crazy.
You're the attorney, and I think you're brilliant. And I think your thought with 27 years of experience is worth more than all of us just assuming. But also, let me put this into the air as well, right? If we read through Cassie's complaint, Cassie literally in her complaint admitted Like, she literally admitted, hey, I'm the one who procured all these gigolos, these prostitutes, all these other people that was involved in the freak-offs. Yeah, I did it at your advice, at your, direction. That might be hard to prove, unless it's like, hey, get 15, whatever, for tonight. I may have gotten drugs. I may have gotten prostitutes. I may have gotten other women. You may have said, hey, who's that girl you were posting up on Instagram with? See if she want to get in the freak-off. She's been really involved in procuring a lot of these people. Here's my thing, though. Do you think that it would get to the level of her having to leak the video to maybe secure what would be an immunity deal? Because I do think the government would look absolutely crazy, even considering indicting Cassie. They would look absolutely nuts. They would have to write this whole new narrative and have to give us so much more information for us to think Cassie, and this is just from the complaint, think that she was not a victim or not someone who was either someone under duress or something else. What do you think?
Well, I somewhat agree with that. And the part that I disagree with is that she did settle. And if you're on the other side, I mean, you have the point that she was willing to let all of this go away for money, which obviously we know is the point of a settlement. But at the same time, it's not a great look, because if you were involved in this and you're willing to let it go away for money, does that say something about you? Does that say something about your character? So I get what academics is saying, but I don't know. I still could see them putting her and listing her in some type of indictment, but we'll see what the lawyer says. He's a professional, 27 plus years. So what does he have to say?
To give us so much more information for us to think Cassie, and this is just from the complaint, think that she was not a victim or not someone who was either someone under duress or something else. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. I don't think they could in any world indict Cassie with the evidence that's out there, with the complaint, with her knowledge. But then, and not only that, I don't know how great of a case they can put together against Sean Combs
without her, right?
Without her cooperating, right? You're talking about someone that is by his side 24/7 for years and years and years during when alleged shootings happen, when alleged something else happened. This is the person who's sleeping next to him. She literally is Sammy the Bull, right? So like, you can't get any closer to Sean Combs than her. So how do you put together a case without her? And you don't put together a case. You can't put together a case, without getting her immunity. So if she hasn't,
unless he said, again, especially with lawyers, you have to listen to the wording. He said with the evidence that's available, there could be, the raid could have taken place and there could be a whole new amount of evidence that comes out. Now, I don't know how it works behind the scenes with them making deals and with them protecting her, if they'll protect her from everything, if they tell her where certain bodies are buried, I guess you could say. But that's what the evidence that we have available that we see now. We still don't know what they told Cassie. They could have said, hey, Cassie, you're still looking at a X charge and we can get it down to this, but the only way we'll do that is if you give us this amount of information. And that 30 million that you got, that's going to go away. You're not going to get that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the details of that. It just seems like there's still a lot more that they could have, especially if the rumors are true about Diddy already being an insider. I mean, they probably have more than we even know.
Homes than her. So how do you put together a case without her? And you don't put together a case. You can't put together a case, without getting her immunity. So if she hasn't procured immunity yet, I would guess that it would be forthcoming. I just don't see how you put a case together without it. I mean, certainly there's some aspects you could put together, but I think that she's the linchpin.
Can I answer this question? Because this has been confusing to me too. If I'm Diddy, okay, cool. Yeah, granted, I should have probably paid you off before you filed the complaint. You did, but I did pay you off. Why is your attorney almost in a narrative sense basically jumping out to put out statements every time something corroborates that you're the victim? Isn't that odd to you? You got paid. Why is the attorney then saying, hey, see what we told you guys? It's happening. You got paid. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Like, go split that.
He's just doing his job.
Listen,
yeah.
I think that this is a lesson in for her attorney. It is a masterclass in how to handle these type of situations. He's handling it. If I'm her attorney, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm making sure that everyone understands she is a victim. I'm making sure that everyone understands she had no power, no control, no money, all these different things. And again, that's not to say that's a false narrative. Maybe that's true. Everyone gets, when your emotions get involved in this thing, everyone is like texting me, oh, you're for this or against that. I am strictly looking at it from a legal perspective. Everything that this attorney could be saying is 100%. It could be 100% true. It might not be. It might be that, she was partaking in things willingly. I don't know.
It's all about the optics.
But I can tell you what he's doing and how he's going about it. It's a masterclass in what to do if your client is being swept up into these things. It's what Giselle Maxwell's attorney should have been doing. And whether or not that's true or false, like I said, I don't know. But the same narrative could have been used in other cases. And again, it might have been more attenuated in those other cases. You might not have had as much proof in those other cases that individual is under control and direction of the lead defendant.
Hey, by the way, I'm so with you. Which, by the way, also once we get into the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, I do believe that in some weird twisted way, I think she felt she was still exhibiting some loyalty. That's why she didn't completely turn heel. Cassie completely has turned heel. Not saying she's not a victim, and that's a distinction. I was watching you explain it through all your comments, and people were like, "No," which I completely got. Let me read her statement here, and sure. I read this before you even got on here, and I said to my chat, I said, I wish I had a highlighter because there's certain. Obviously, her lawyer helped her draft this, but there's certain. Sure. Lines that you clearly could tell what she's trying to say. She says, "Thank you for all the love and support from my family, friends, strangers."
And this is Cassie's statement that he's talking about.
The outpouring of love has created a place for my younger self to settle and feel safe now. But this is only the beginning. Domestic violence is an issue. And then this is a line right here. "It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become." I thought that was an important line.
Yeah.
You want to jump in?
You picked out all the lines that you're picking out are the lines that are important, right? Those are like I said.
Yeah.
This attorney drafted. I guarantee the attorney drafted it, and he used very specific language, very specific items. It would be impossible to indict this young lady. I don't see how you would.
Wow.
And then the video,
impossible.
Coupled with the video, it's an impossibility to indict her. And the way that she is saying these things, that's what leads me to believe that in this indictment, there are going to be some crazy, crazy, crazy allegations.
I agree.
And she's saying, I'm not the same person. Like, the complaint is one thing. Oh, I procured people. I did these things. I think that the actual indictment itself is going to go into very, very detailed paragraphs about her involvement. And like I said, it might not specifically name her because it might be unindicted co-conspirator. But I think it's going to go into very specific involvement with different issues and different things that are surrounding the sex trafficking and possible drugs and things of that nature. I think it's going to be very, very.
Now, it'll be interesting to me to see once and if these indictments come out, how they paint the narrative. Because yes, they may be protecting Cassie in this situation, but are they going to paint the narrative showing that Diddy is this monster and he did all these things alone? Or are they going to leave some question there as to why and how Cassie was involved in this? Because we all know Diddy's some of the stuff he did were wild. Some of the things we've seen were wild, and we know he's eventually going to go down for this in some way, shape, or form, more than he already has. But when it comes to the Cassie part of this, there's still a lot of uncertainty, because if you're looking at the public opinion, or the court of public opinion, as we say, and what they think, if people start to see some of these things come out and hear some of the situations that Cassie is involved in, do y'all think, and you'll have to let me know, do you think they could possibly turn against Cassie? Or is she always going to be seen as this victim, someone who was powerless, as they like to say, and someone who was just a different person at that time? I think it could go either way, but hey, the 20-year attorney's saying something different, so we'll see.
Specific. And this is a way. And like I said, it may be completely true that she was under his control. Yeah. And that's why I keep saying those things. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's sad because, like, when you're analyzing this and you're trying to just be objective, and a lot of times, like, when you're being objective, you got to remove the emotion, because the emotional reaction to seeing a man beat a woman, like we seen on that video, is nothing that needs objection or anything else. It's just like, this guy's disgusting, he needs to be penalized. But we're not just at the point of saying this guy needs to be penalized. We're trying to, extrapolate into what could be coming or forthcoming in terms of, like, criminal charges. By the way, the next paragraph, which what I noticed about this whole statement, the last line of every paragraph is very telling. I'll read the next paragraph. thank you to everyone that has taken the time to take this matter seriously. My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believe in victims the first time.
No.
Here we go. It takes a lot of heart to tell the truth out of a situation that you were powerless in.
Correct. That's
yeah,
it.
there goes
so
the
like
powerless.
all those lines, those are the key lines. And like I said, to the normal, just the average day person reading that, they're like, okay, as soon as I read that, I knew, those things blew up right at me as soon as I read it. And I was like, okay, like this is what I'm trying to tell everybody. That all these things came out after I posted the first time, right? And I'm like, I guarantee, and like I said, that video is a horrible video. I don't condone it. I don't think domestic violence is smart or good or anything like that. The images on that video are
disgusting,
shocking. All of the above. All the above. What I try to do is I try to look at situations and I try to analyze them in the legal perspective. And I get flack for this all the time.